My father demanded you'll give your entire inheritance to your brother. If you want to stay in this family, you'll obey me, so I revealed the will that left him nothing and made me the executor. Hello friends. Don't forget to subscribe and drop a hi in the comments. Tell us your city or country too. Let's get into the story. The call came at 2:47 a.m. I remember because I was staring at my phone, watching the numbers glow in the darkness of my bedroom. Dad's name flashed across the screen and my stomach dropped. Middle of the night calls meant only one thing in our family. Something was desperately wrong. She's gone, baby girl. His voice cracked, raw with grief. Your mama's gone. The world stopped spinning. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. My mother, my anchor, my best friend, the woman who taught me to stand tall even when the world tried to bend me, was gone. Just like that. Stokey said. Quick. Painless. She didn't suffer. But I was suffering. God, I was drowning in it. I drove through the night, tears blurring the highway lines into streaks of white and yellow. By dawn, I was standing in my childhood home, surrounded by the ghost of my mother's presence. Her coffee mug still sat in the sink. Her reading glasses perched on the side table. Her favorite blanket draped over the couch, still holding the indent where she'd last sat. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. My brother Jordan sat beside him, eyes red but calculating. Even through my grief, I noticed that look. I'd seen it before. The wheels turning, always scheming, always wondering what he could gain. We need to talk about arrangements, Dad said, voice hollow. And other things. I nodded numb. I had no idea that other things would detonate my entire world within 72 hours. If you've ever lost someone who held your family together, drop a comment below. You'll understand what came next. The funeral was beautiful. Mama would have loved it. Purple flowers everywhere, her favorite gospel songs filling the church, the whole community turning out to celebrate her life. I held it together through the service, through the burial, through the repast at the church hall. But that night back at the house, the cracks started showing. Jordan had always been the golden child. 4 years older, charming, smooth-talking, and utterly irresponsible. While I'd worked 2 jobs to put myself through nursing school, he'd bounced from scheme to scheme. Always with his hand out, always promising this time would be different. Mama had seen through him, but Dad? Dad wore blinders when it came to his son. Your brother's going through a rough patch, Dad announced over cold fried chicken and potato salad that neighbors had brought. Lost his job again. His girlfriend kicked him out. I looked at Jordan. He had the decency to look away. I'm sorry to hear that, I said carefully. But I'm sure he'll figure it out. He always does. Actually, Jordan leaned forward, that familiar gleam in his eye. I was thinking about starting fresh. Maybe going back to school. But I'd need some capital to get started. There was the ask. Always the ask. Jordan, I just buried my mother. My voice cracked. Can we not do this right now? Your mother would want us to stick together, Dad interjected, his tone sharpening. Family takes care of family. Something cold settled in my chest. I recognized that tone. It was the same one he'd used when he demanded I give Jordan my car at 16 because he needed it more. The same one when he'd guilt me into co-signing a loan Jordan never paid back. We'll talk later, I said, standing up. I need some air. Behind me, I heard Jordan whisper something to Dad. They both laughed. At my mother's wake. They actually laughed. 3 days after the funeral, we gathered in Attorney Morrison's office. A small, neat space that smelled of old books and furniture polish. Mrs. Morrison had been Mama's friend for 30 years, handling everything from property deeds to her will. She looked at me with such profound sadness that I nearly broke down again. I'm so sorry for your loss, she said, squeezing my hand. Your mother was an extraordinary woman. Thank you, I whispered. Dad and Jordan sat across the mahogany desk, both looking impatient. Jordan kept checking his phone. Dad's leg bounced with nervous energy. They'd been whispering in the waiting room, heads close together, conspiratorial. Mrs. Morrison opened her briefcase, pulling out a thick folder. Let's begin. Evelyn's will is straightforward, but there are some specific provisions she wanted honored. Can we skip to the assets? Jordan interrupted. No offense, but we all know what she had. The house, the life insurance, the savings accounts. Mrs. Morrison's expression cooled. Mr. Harrison, your mother's estate is more substantial than you might think. She was quite savvy with her investments. My head snapped up. Investments? Mama had worked as a school secretary her whole life. Dad had been a postal worker. They'd lived modestly, never flashy, never extravagant. How substantial? Dad asked, leaning forward. Mrs. Morrison looked directly at me. Approximately $1.2 million. The room erupted. Jordan jumped to his feet. Dad's mouth fell open. Me. I sat frozen, unable to process what I'd just heard. 1.2 million? Where had that come from? That's impossible, I breathed. Your mother was very careful, Mrs. Morrison explained. She invested wisely over 40 years. She wanted to secure your futures. Jordan's eyes gleamed with naked greed. Dad's expression shifted into something I'd never seen before. Cold calculation replacing grief. Everything was about to change. Let's get to the distribution, Dad said, his voice tight with barely contained excitement. How's it split? Mrs. Morrison's eyes met mine again and I saw something there. A warning maybe, or solidarity. That's where things get interesting. Evelyn made me executor initially, but 3 months ago she changed it. Changed it to who? Jordan demanded. To your daughter. Mrs. Morrison nodded at me. The entire estate is under her control as primary executor and beneficiary. The silence was deafening. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. Mama had made me executor? Why hadn't she told me? That's ridiculous, Jordan sputtered. She's just a nurse. What does she know about handling money? What the hell, Evelyn? Dad said to the air, his face reddening. She always did favor the girl. Excuse me. The word erupted from me like a gunshot. Favor me? Are you serious right now? Mrs. Morrison raised her hand. Let me finish. The will states that the house goes to both children equally. Jordan smiled. But only if certain conditions are met. The life insurance, investments, and liquid assets are distributed at the executor's discretion, with guidelines Evelyn provided. Guidelines? I found my voice. What guidelines? Mrs. Morrison pulled out another document. Your mother left detailed instructions. She wanted to ensure the money was used wisely, not squandered. She specifically mentioned concerns about enabling destructive behaviors. Jordan's face went purple. She's talking about me. This is garbage. I'm contesting this. You can try, Mrs. Morrison said coolly. But your mother was of sound mind. I have documentation of her intentions. She was very explicit about her reasoning. Dad stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. This is wrong. A son should inherit equally. This is disrespectful to me, to Jordan, to our family structure. Family structure? I stood too, trembling with emotions I couldn't name. Where was that structure when I needed help with college? When I worked myself sick to stay afloat? That made you strong, Dad shot back. No, I said quietly. Mama made me strong. You just made me tired. We didn't speak for a week. I stayed at my apartment across town trying to process everything. Mama had left me in charge. She trusted me with her legacy, her life's work. The weight of it pressed down on me like a physical thing. I kept finding myself in her things. Boxes of papers Mrs. Morrison had given me. Investment statements. Bank records. Letters she'd written but never sent. In one addressed to me, dated just 2 months before she died, she wrote, "Baby girl, I know this will be hard. I know your father and brother will be angry. But I trust you to do what's right, not what's easy. You've always had my strength. Use it." I cried reading that. Ugly, gasping sobs that left me hollow. The call came on Tuesday. Dad's number. I almost didn't answer. "We need to talk," he said, no preamble. "Come to the house. Tonight." "Dad, I don't think." "Tonight. 6 o'clock. Be here." He hung up. Every instinct screamed at me not to go. But some stupid, hopeful part of me thought maybe we could work this out. Maybe Dad just needed time to grieve, to adjust. Maybe Jordan would be reasonable for once in his life. I was so naive. I arrived at 5:58. Jordan's beat-up Honda sat in the driveway, along with two cars I didn't recognize. Through the window I could see people gathered in the living room. My Uncle Jerome. My cousin Tasha. Even Aunt Gloria, who I hadn't seen in 5 years. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a conversation. This was an intervention. I almost turned around. Almost got back in my car and drove away. But Mama's voice echoed in my head. You've always had my strength. I squared my shoulders and walked through that door. I had no idea I was walking into an ambush that would change everything. What would you do in this situation? Let me know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for the next part. The moment I stepped inside, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. Everyone sat arranged like a jury. Dad in Mama's armchair, Jordan on the couch, my relatives flanking them like soldiers. The air was thick with judgment and barely concealed hostility. Sit down, Dad commanded, pointing to a single chair positioned in the center of the room facing them all. I'll stand, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Always so defiant, Aunt Gloria muttered. Just like Evelyn. Uncle Jerome cleared his throat. We're here because there's been a misunderstanding about your mother's will. We're family and we need to sort this out before lawyers get more involved and eat up all the money. There's no misunderstanding, I said. Mama made her wishes clear. Your mama wasn't thinking straight at the end, Dad said, leaning forward. She was sick, medicated, not herself. That will doesn't reflect her true intentions. She was perfectly healthy until the stroke. My hands clenched. And Mrs. Morrison confirmed she was of sound mind. Jordan stood up and I noticed he'd dressed up, button-down shirt, slacks, like he was going to court. Look sis, we know you're grieving. We all are. But you have to see how unfair this is. I'm the man of the family now. I should be handling the estate. The man of the family? The laugh that escaped me was sharp, bitter. You're 34 years old, Jordan. You've never held a job longer than 8 months. You've borrowed money from everyone in this room and never paid a dime back. That's disrespectful. Dad roared, slamming his hand on the armrest. You don't talk to your brother that way. Then maybe my brother should give me a reason to respect him. The room erupted in shouting. Aunt Gloria called me selfish. Cousin Tasha said I was being ungrateful. Uncle Jerome tried to play peacemaker, suggesting we split everything equally to keep the peace. But Dad's voice cut through it all. Here's what's going to happen. Dad stood up and suddenly he seemed bigger, more imposing than I remembered. This was the man who'd ruled our household with an iron fist, who'd made Mama cry behind closed doors, who'd always put Jordan first no matter what. You're going to do the right thing, he said slowly, deliberately. You're going to sign over the executor rights to me. Then we're going to distribute everything equally. 1/3 to me, 1/3 to Jordan, 1/3 to you. That's fair. That's how it should be. Mama didn't want that, I said, my voice shaking. She specifically. I don't care what that paper says. Dad exploded. I was married to that woman for 43 years. 43 years. I know what she would have wanted better than some lawyer. She told the lawyer exactly what she wanted, I shot back. She wrote me letters, Dad. She explained everything. She knew you'd react like this. She knew Jordan would come begging. That's why she set it up this way. Jordan stepped closer, his face twisted with anger and something else. Desperation. You don't understand. I need this money. I'm drowning in debt. Credit cards, loans, people I borrowed from who aren't as nice as family. I need this. Then maybe you should have made better choices, I said coldly. How dare you? Aunt Gloria stood up. Your brother is family. You help family no matter what. Where was this energy when I was working double shifts to pay for school? I demanded. Where was family when I was eating ramen 3 times a day because I couldn't afford groceries? Jordan got a new car for graduation. I got a card that said, proud of you, and a $20 bill. That's because Jordan needed, Dad started. Jordan needed? What about what I needed? What about all the times I needed support, help, just someone to believe in me? But no, it was always Jordan. Always the golden child who could do no wrong even when he was doing everything wrong. The room went silent. I was breathing hard, years of resentment pouring out. Dad's expression went cold as ice. You listen to me, little girl. Dad's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. I brought you into this world. I fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head. You owe me. You owe this family. I owe you. Something inside me snapped. I owe you for doing the bare minimum a parent is supposed to do, for favoring my brother every single day of my life, for making me feel like I had to earn love while Jordan got it for free. You're being dramatic, Cousin Tasha said. This is about greed, not old family dynamics. Is it? I turned to her. How much does Jordan owe you? 3,000? Her face flushed. Bingo. Uncle Jerome, what about you? That loan, for his business idea that went nowhere. Uncle Jerome looked at the floor. That's different, Dad said. He's trying. He's had bad luck. Bad luck. I laughed, a hollow sound. Bad luck is getting laid off. Bad luck is your car breaking down. Bad luck isn't 34 years of choosing not to grow up because you know someone will always bail you out. Jordan lunged forward and Uncle Jerome had to grab him. You self-righteous. You think you're better than me? You're not. You're just Mama's little puppet. No, I said quietly. I'm Mama's daughter. And she trusted me because I earned it. Because I showed up. Because I didn't just take and take and take. Dad stood directly in front of me now, so close I could smell the coffee on his breath. Here's how this is going to work. You're going to give your entire inheritance to your brother. Not part of it. Not half. All of it. My heart stopped. What? You heard me. Jordan needs it more than you. You've got your nursing job, your little apartment. You're fine. Jordan needs a fresh start and you're going to give it to him. And if I don't? His eyes were chips of ice. Then you're no daughter of mine. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. You're no daughter of mine. 7 words that shattered whatever illusion I'd been clinging to about my father's love being unconditional. You don't mean that, I whispered even though I knew he did. I mean every word. If you want to stay in this family, if you want to be welcome in this house, if you want any relationship with me or your brother going forward, you'll do as I say. You'll give Jordan what he needs. What he deserves as the man of this family. Aunt Gloria nodded approvingly. Cousin Tasha crossed her arms. Uncle Jerome looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Jordan smiled. Actually smiled like he'd already won. Something broke inside me. Not my spirit. My chains. No, I said. The room went deathly quiet. What did you say? Dad's face turned purple. I said no. My voice grew stronger. I'm not giving Jordan a single penny. I'm not signing over anything. Mama made me executor because she knew exactly what would happen. She knew you'd pressure me. She knew Jordan would guilt me. She knew everyone would tell me to just give in to keep the peace. But she also knew I was strong enough to say no. You ungrateful, Dad started. Ungrateful. The word exploded out of me. I'm ungrateful? I spent my whole life trying to earn your love. Straight A's in school while Jordan was failing? Didn't matter. Working my way through college while Jordan partied? Didn't matter. Showing up every Sunday for dinner, calling every week, being there whenever you needed anything? None of it mattered because I wasn't Jordan. That's not, Aunt Gloria tried. Yes, it is. I turned on her. And you all enabled it. Every time Jordan screwed up, someone bailed him out. Every time he made a bad choice, someone made excuses. Well, Mama got tired of it. She saw what I couldn't see, that giving Jordan money wouldn't help him. It would destroy him. Jordan's face twisted with rage. You don't know what I need. I know enabling an addict doesn't cure addiction. I know throwing money at problems doesn't solve character flaws. I know. How dare you? Dad stepped so close I could feel his breath. You will obey me. You will give your brother. I won't. Then get out, Dad said, his voice like stone. Get out of this house. You're not my daughter anymore. The room erupted again, but I wasn't listening. I walked to my purse and pulled out the folder Mrs. Morrison had given me, The one I'd been carrying since the reading, the one I'd hoped I'd never have to use. Before I go, I said, my voice cutting through the chaos, there's something you all need to see. I opened the folder and pulled out papers, bank statements, receipts, letters. Years of documentation Mama had kept hidden away, preparing for this exact moment. Mama didn't just leave me executor because she trusted me. She did it because she knew the truth about this family. About Jordan. About you, Dad. Don't you dare, Dad warned. These are bank statements showing every penny Mama loaned Jordan over the last 10 years. $53,000. Not one payment back. Not one. Jordan's face went white. These are records of Jordan stealing from Mama's purse, her jewelry box, even her medication to sell. She documented everything. Lies. Jordan shouted. These are her medical records from 7 years ago when stress-induced heart palpitations put her in the hospital. The doctor's notes mention significant family stress and financial worry caused by son's addiction issues. The room went silent as death. Addiction. Uncle Jerome said quietly. Gambling, I said, meeting Jordan's eyes. Mama knew. She'd been covering his losses for years, trying to protect him, trying to protect this family's image. She was drowning in worry while pretending everything was fine. You have no right, Jordan started. And these, I pulled out the final papers, are emails between Mama and Dad from 2 years ago. When she suggested cutting Jordan off. When she begged Dad to get him help. And Dad said, he's a man. He'll figure it out. Stop babying him. The same man who's demanding I hand over everything to enable him more. Dad's face had gone gray. So no, Dad. I won't obey you. I won't give Jordan money to gamble away. I won't betray Mama's trust because you can't see past your favoritism. If you walk out that door, Dad said. Then I walk out, I said. And I take Mama's truth with me. I walked out into the cool evening air, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my car keys. Behind me, the house erupted in shouting. Dad's voice booming, Jordan screaming denials, my relatives arguing. I didn't look back. Couldn't look back. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, tears streaming down my face, before I could steady my hands enough to drive. My phone started ringing immediately. Dad's number, then Jordan's, then Aunt Gloria's. I turned it off. The drive home was a blur. I kept seeing Mama's face, remembering all the times she'd looked so tired, so worn down. I thought it was just age, just work. I'd never imagined she was carrying such a heavy burden, trying to save Jordan while losing pieces of herself. When I got home, I found 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Most were variations of, how dare you, and you've destroyed this family. But 3 were from Uncle Jerome. You did the right thing. Your Mama would be proud. And, I'm sorry I didn't speak up. I cried myself to sleep that night, clutching one of Mama's scarves that still smelled like her perfume, vanilla and lavender. I'd done what she asked. I'd been strong. But God, it hurt. Losing her had nearly killed me. Losing my father and brother too? Even though I knew they were toxic, even though I knew I'd made the right choice, it felt like being orphaned all over again. The next morning, Mrs. Morrison called. I heard what happened last night. Are you okay? No, I said honestly. But I will be. Your mother prepared for this, you know. She left letters for you. One for each month of the first year. She wanted to make sure you wouldn't feel alone. I broke down again. Even in death, Mama was taking care of me. There's something else, Mrs. Morrison continued. Your father's trying to contest the will. He's claiming undue influence, that your mother wasn't competent. My heart sank. Can he do that? He can try. But we have documentation of everything. And I think we should schedule a full family meeting with lawyers present. There are things about the estate they don't know yet. Things that might change the situation. What things? Things your mother wanted revealed only if your father pushed back. She knew him well. 2 weeks later, we gathered in a conference room at Mrs. Morrison's law firm. Dad brought his lawyer, a slick man in an expensive suit who smelled like too much cologne. Jordan sat beside them, cleaned up but hollow-eyed. My relatives stayed away. Even they could see this was going too far. I had my own attorney now, A sharp woman named Ms. Robinson who'd reviewed everything and confirmed what I already knew. Mama's will was airtight. Before we begin the formal proceedings, Mrs. Morrison said, there's a video Evelyn recorded. She wanted it shown if things came to this. A final explanation. We don't need to see, Dad started. You requested this meeting, Ms. Robinson interrupted. You'll watch the video. Mrs. Morrison started the playback. Mama appeared on screen, sitting in this very office, looking tired but determined. The date stamp read 3 months before her death. If you're watching this, Mama's voice filled the room and I started crying immediately. Then things went exactly as I feared. My baby girl stood up to you, Thomas, and you couldn't accept it. Dad flinched at her use of his full name. Let me be clear. I am of sound mind. I'm making these decisions after months of consultation with attorneys, financial advisors, and therapists. What I'm doing isn't punishment. It's protection. She paused, gathering strength. Jordan, baby, I love you. I always will. But love isn't enough to save someone who won't save themselves. I've given you money, opportunities, second chances, third chances, a dozen chances. Each time you gambled it away. Literally. The gambling addiction that started in college has consumed your life, and I enabled it by constantly rescuing you. Jordan put his head in his hands. The $53,000 I loaned you? Gone. The jewelry that disappeared? Found. The medication stolen from my cabinet? Sold. I documented everything because I knew this day would come. I knew you'd deny it. I knew your father would defend you. Mama's eyes hardened as she looked directly at the camera. Thomas, I loved you for 43 years. But you failed our son by never holding him accountable. And you failed our daughter by making her invisible while she shined brighter than the sun. Dad's lawyer started to speak, but Mama continued. The truth is, Mama said on the video, her voice growing softer, I've been preparing for this moment for 5 years. Since the first time I saw our daughter cry in my kitchen, exhausted from working 2 shifts, apologizing for not being able to afford a birthday gift for her brother. The same brother who just bought a new PlayStation with money he borrowed from me. My breath caught. I remembered that day. I'd been 23, so tired I could barely stand, feeling guilty for being broke when really I'd just been surviving. That's when I knew I'd failed her too. Failed to protect her from a family dynamic that would drain her dry. So I started over. I worked extra hours. I invested every spare penny. I built something that couldn't be taken away by guilt or obligation or your demands, Thomas. Mama leaned forward, looking directly into the camera, directly at me. Baby girl, by the time you see this, I'll be gone. And you'll be standing alone against everyone. You'll doubt yourself. You'll wonder if you're being selfish or cruel. You're not. You're being brave. You're doing what I couldn't do for most of my life. Choosing yourself. Tears streamed down my face. Across the table, even Jordan was crying. The money isn't just money. It's freedom. Freedom from a family that takes and never gives back. Freedom to build a life without constantly sacrificing yourself on the altar of other people's poor choices. Freedom to say no without guilt. She paused, wiping her own tears. Thomas, I hope you can forgive me someday. But I won't apologize for protecting our daughter. Jordan, I pray you get help. Real help. Not money, help. There's a provision in the will. If you complete a certified treatment program and maintain sobriety for 2 years, there's a trust fund waiting. $50,000 for a real fresh start. But you have to earn it by saving yourself. Jordan looked up sharply. Mrs. Morrison nodded confirmation. And to my daughter, my heart, my strength, I see you. I've always seen you. You are enough. You've always been enough. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Live your life. Be happy. And know that somewhere I'm watching over you, so proud I could burst. The video ended. The room sat in stunned silence. Dad looked broken, older somehow. Jordan was openly sobbing. Me. I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. That's the full will, Mrs. Morrison said quietly. Are we proceeding with the contest? Dad's lawyer whispered to him. After a long moment, Dad shook his head. No. No contest. 6 months later, I stood in Mama's garden. My garden now. The house had been sold, split between Jordan and me as the will stated. I'd used my half as a down payment on a small house across town, something that was mine where I could build new memories. Jordan had checked into rehab 3 weeks after the meeting. Uncle Jerome had helped him, supported him, done what Dad should have done years ago. It was early still, but there was hope. Real hope, not the desperate kind built on enabling. Dad and I hadn't spoken since that day. Maybe we never would. Some relationships aren't meant to survive the truth. And that was okay. I'd spent my whole life trying to earn love that was always conditional. I was done auditioning for a role in a family that never truly saw me. I opened the first letter Mama had left for month 6. Her handwriting filled the page and I could almost hear her voice. Baby girl, I hope you're healing. I hope you're learning that walking away from toxicity isn't abandonment. It's survival. You've done the hardest thing. You've chosen yourself. Keep choosing yourself. Every single day. I folded the letter against my chest, looking up at the sky. The sunset painted everything gold and purple, Mama's favorite colors. I'm choosing myself, Mama, I whispered. Just like you taught me. The wind picked up, rustling through the garden, and I swore I could feel her there. Proud, loving, free at last from the burden of trying to save people who didn't want to be saved. I'd lost my family. But I'd found something more valuable. Myself. And in the end, that was the greatest inheritance Mama could have given me. Not money. Not property. But permission to save myself even when it meant standing alone. That night I slept deeply for the first time since her death. No nightmares. No guilt. Just peace. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes love means setting boundaries. Sometimes family isn't the one you're born into, it's the one you choose. And sometimes, the greatest act of love is teaching someone to stand on their own, even if it means watching them stand apart from you. Mama knew that. And finally, so did I. If this story touched you, if you've ever had to choose yourself over toxic family, drop a comment below. Share your story. You're not alone. And don't forget to subscribe for more real, raw, emotional stories that remind us we're all just trying to survive our families and find our way home, to ourselves.